let's queer up South Florida and Florida. Appeals courts rule Florida can become trans health care wasteland. In a significant development, a federal appeals court has allowed Florida's controversial ban on gender-affirming care for transgender youth and its restrictive measures for transgender adults to remain in effect while legal challenges proceed. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit, in a 2-1 decision, ruled that the state is likely to prevail in the case known as Doe versus Ladapo. The panel's majority opinion, authored by Judge Britt C. Grant and Robert J. Luck, stated that the lower court might have incorrectly judged the state legislative intent as discriminatory. Judge Charles R. Wilson, dissenting, argued that the district court had found sufficient evidence of discrimination and warned that the ban would lead to unnecessary suffering for transgender individuals. The dispute centers on Florida's Senate Bill 254, enacted in May of 2023, which codifies severe restrictions on gender-affirming care and imposes criminal and civil penalties on medical providers. The law also mandates that care can be provided solely by physicians and bars telehealth, creating erroneous consent requirements. In June, U.S. District Judge Robert Hinkle had issued a permanent injunction against the law, deeming it unconstitutional and discriminatory. The injunction was not stayed during the appeals process. The plaintiffs, represented by a coalition including GLBTQ Legal Advocates and Defenders and the Human Rights Campaign Foundation, argued that the law violates equal protection rights and causes undue harm. The case continues as legal battles over Florida gender-affirming care restrictions unfold. Wow, that was a lot. My voice was going through something. You know, this story is so hurtful, harmful. You know, I have, since I've moved back, I've said to the group earlier, I've lived here on and off for 31 years. And when I moved back to Florida in 2014, I had the privilege to start making new friends that were of trans experience. Some beautiful, beautiful individuals. I don't know their struggle. I know what a struggle it is to be a black man in America that identifies as part of the LGBTQ plus community, who also happens to be HIV positive. So those are my issues. I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to be using my hands. I can't imagine for a person who, you know, is a trans experience, who feels like was born the wrong sex, the wrong gender, in the wrong body, and to navigate that and to find the courage to come out and live, and then you're met with such hate and no love, no sympathy, no compassion. So I hope that these laws get changed, and this is Dallin Michael Green speaking. You know, let's make that clear. But I've said on this show several times, we are all human. We are all worthy of respect. We're worthy of dignity, you know. And so many people in the trans community, that's how they present themselves, with dignity and grace. And it's just thrown back in their face.
Yeah.
So the thing that really gets under my skin about all of this is just the blatant and disregard for the hypocrisy of it. So this was all peddled to the public as parents' rights, right? What's the one thing that this law bans? A parent's right to affirm their child's gender-affirming care. So it's actually stripping parents of their rights that the language was used to sell it. So it drives me nuts. This will move to the next level. I don't know what the next level is, but hopefully, you know, it gets a fair shake, and the arguments that we're able to present to stay it will prevail.
Yeah, and it's that antiquated, ridiculous, and quite frankly arrogant by the people who would put this on us, thinking that initially even just the gay and lesbian community faced that, oh, you know, you're not born that way. You choose this, and your upbringing is going to cause it, which is absolute poppycock.
Yeah.
And the same thing for the trans community. You know, for me earlier on a few years ago, when even I was trying to wrap my head around what we all are and all the meaning of all these letters, a beautiful trans friend of mine, a woman, explained to me that for her, and I know not everyone feels this way, and she acknowledged that, but for her, she feels like she was simply born with a birth defect, like any other child who was born with a birth defect, that their parents, government, would immediately step in to try to connect. Maybe being born with an extra limb, whatever. And that's all it is at the end of the day. So the arrogance.
Poppycock. That's my new word. Poppycock. You know, the Trevor Project tells us every single year that how do we save LGBTQ plus youth, right? Especially the T. We make sure that we support gender-affirming care. That is how kids don't think about outing themselves, you know, offing themselves, excuse me. You know, think about that. Someone in such a dark place, right? They're living in this state saying, wow, the government doesn't even see me. Or someone that's already started their transition and now you're going to block that from them. You know, healthcare disparities are throughout our LGBTQ plus community, right? But especially the T. And you're taking away telehealth. Do you understand that a lot of people in our community don't have cars, don't have ways to get around, right? You're making it harder for our siblings to get the care that they just need. And understand that this is another reason why you need to vote, folks, all right? Okay, Trump wants JFK to be, he wants to make him the health secretary, all right? Take that in, okay? The guy with the worms in his head, all right? And if he is, so if Trump wins and he is appointed, everything LGBTQ plus resource is going to be gone. Gone. So understand that, like, you know, so and I also know that they're putting a lot of things aside and waiting till after the election to make a lot of decisions on a lot of very important things. This being one of them, you know, it kills me. It makes me despise the right even more, right? Because you're going after our hardest hit, you know, community members. Nobody has been targeted more this freaking year and last year, you know, since Trump and DeSantis learned the word trans than the trans community.
I want to know why they're called the right when they're so often wrong.
Right. But then not only that, just to echo that too, let's look at our Black trans siblings that are victimized and targeted and killed. You know, so many have perished, and, you know, thank God for trans organizations like Trans Social and Trans Inclusive, and, you know, there's a few others, McKinsey Project and, you know, others. But I mean, to look at the list of people that are brutally killed and murdered, and for what? You know, so it's beyond sad, and there's language that I would love to use, but I can't use because I'm here with Faye and I have to be nice.
No, and you have to be nice. You know, I think it was last year or the year before, Puerto Rico sent out a state of emergency because of the amount of Black and brown trans women that were being killed. Did you hear anything about that? You probably didn't. It's not anything that that people really talk about and get behind and try to fight here in the United States. Our Black and brown trans sisters are being killed every day. All right. And nobody talks about it. Lowest hanging fruit. It's just not fair.